Okay, so this is going to be a live on Twin Flame. Okay, so this is going to be a live on Twin Flames being accused of cults. I actually just had a bimbo. I'm just going to call her that because I went to see her profile, bimbo, and saying one word on one of my videos, cults. I said cults, and I went, "Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry you belong to a cult. I'm so sorry." It's interesting how people are so triggered and jealous and bitter and petty over this twin flame situation. It's none of their business. It's just like it's none of my business that someone wants to go to the gym 7 days a week and work out 4 hours a day and have the best body ever. It's not my business that somebody wants to fast for 40 days. It's like there's an old saying, if you have nothing nice to say nothing at all. But I'm the one that will kick the shins of people who overdo their, well, how do I put this without being a complete rude person, who cross boundaries that are none of their fucking business. It is none of anybody's business if a person is talking about a twin flame journey that they're having and they believe that their soulmate, or aka twin flame, which soulmate and twin flames are completely different. I misspoke, but anyway. And to think it's okay to make I think the only time it is your business is when somebody, a sentient being, is being harmed. And that's when it becomes, actually, as a good citizen, your business. The abuse of animals, the abuse of our resources, the abuse of, just waging war on people for the fuck of it, for the resources they have that we want, shit like that. Then it's our business, absolutely. But in terms of twin flames, or if you want a Birkin bag from Walmart, it's not my fucking business. It's not yours either. So what I'm going to say to you is this, all of you guys that think it's a cult. First of all, let me define a cult. It is a programming of one person, usually fascist-minded, narcissistic, who controls a group of people and makes them go here and there at their behest. That's the nature of a cult. No one's putting a here and there at their behest. That's the nature of a cult. No one's putting a pew afraid of that you would call it a cult. And because occults and cults have been around, in fact, Osho was running a cult. If anyone does their due diligence, you'll find out I'm not lying. He was running a cult. Why is that? Well, because he had people literally giving up their entire possessions, property, cars, cash, entire possessions, to be part of his movement. That's a cult. And it was a sex cult. Reverend Mooney was a cult. Jim Jones was a cult. If we're going to use words, let's use the proper words for the proper situation. So what is a twin flame situation? It's a movement, it's an idea, it's a reality that was happening before you were born. My little friend who thinks twin flames are a cult. Before this planet existed. Because of the souls being created and splitting to have what I'm going to call, at this point, concurrent incarnations in different vessels for different reasons. That's actually what it is, ultimately. And there's nothing cultish about it. It's not even the right word. So it's again, if I say I'm irritated, I'm more than irritated. I'm fucking pissed off because, and here's why, because it is harming people. It is disingenuous. You're not helping people by saying it's not real. Just as it's not real for you, and it probably isn't, Because anybody that would be mean-spirited, a little petty tyrant, thinking that their one word is going to change the evolution and ascension of male and females who are finally realizing who they've been to each other for hundreds of years, thousands of years, your little words are not going to change that. You can, sprinkle your venom here and there, but it will not change that. Why I'm pissed is there are people right now going through the dark night of the soul that will see your fucking comment, and it could drive them over the edge because they are so fragile right now. And as it is already, there are a lot of people thinking that these are all in the head, all made up. Now, yesterday I did a live and I talked and break down about, twin flames, this and that, twin rays. It's on my YouTube if you want to check it out. But throughout the history, at least human history, recorded human history, I mean, the history we've been allowed to read, let's preface that with that truth. We know that we've been talking about twin flames for eons. Fictionally, through mythology, and through history of the human experience, through, literally just stories told of real people that loved each other. And there's so many stories right now that are running down my mind right now. But I remember a story that really struck me, and it was in a documentary of I believe he was a bishop, and she was a nun, and they wrote the most incredibly appropriate yet passionate, hungry love letters to each other that were amazing. And I believe they were French. But they had an incredible passion that they could never they could never become sexually intimate. It was never going to happen. And so the longing for each other was, but also they were able to share their souls, their thoughts, their ideas on the masculine and feminine, on society, on their thoughts, their ideas on the masculine and feminine, on society, on art, on culture. It was really interesting. They were madly in love, and yet they were never going to cross those boundaries. So that's an actual true story that goes down. Another actual true story is Liz Taylor across those boundaries. So that's an actual true story that goes down. Another actual true story is Liz Taylor and Richard Burton. So that's an actual true story that goes down. Another actual true story is Liz Taylor and Richard Burton. That's an actual true twin flame, oh my God, story. Couldn't live with each other, couldn't live without each other, literally. Liz Taylor and Richard Burton. That's an actual true twin flame, oh my God, story. Couldn't live with each other, couldn't live without each other, literally. This relationship, if you really look at it, if you look at the dynamics, was really something extraordinary. You could say that when you look at fictional characters, you've got Heathcliff and Catherine. I believe it was Catherine, if I remember correctly, in Wuthering Heights. That's a fiction. Written by a woman who would have been a virgin, right? We're assuming, right? Dante. And who somehow was able to channel something that extraordinary at a time where women were chattels, as we all know. Another fictional story is Romeo and Juliet. It's another one is Othello. Those are fictional stories. Helen of Troy. You could say it's fictional. I'm not so convinced. Why? Well, because they found the city of Troy. And so there's something to that. So I'm pretty sure the face that launched 1,000 ships in Paris who fell in love, I mean, basically destroyed an entire country, right? A kingdom for a woman. And certainly wasn't for her fucking face. There are tons of beautiful women. Always have been, always will be. So I'm not convinced that's a fictional story. And then let's go into religion, and which I've mentioned again and again, which is from Hinduism with Krishna, Radha, Sita, and Rama, to all the way down to Mary Magdalena and Yeshua. I spoke about it yesterday. And so this idea that it's okay for anyone, and this is where I draw the line with anyone who thinks that they can shit on our little parade of ascension. We are ascending. We are realizing who we are as spiritual and multidimensional light beings. We are realizing that we can actually live the reality of unconditional love, and the teacher and the method is through a twin flame journey. It's extraordinary. In other words, some of us, we can't, there are very rare parents that give unconditional love to their children. It's rare. Do your homework. Have you done your homework? I want you to marry her, not him, or whatever. There's always conditions to a parent-child dynamic. And what happens suddenly, and it makes you actually a better parent when you are in a twin flame journey, is because suddenly now what you were unable to give unconditionally love, right? No conditions means absolutely no fucking conditions. Like somehow you learn how to forgive them no matter what they do, no matter. It doesn't mean you don't get triggered by it. It means that you settle into a realization again and again, self-realization, that, oh my God, I've given this person something no one else would get away with. No one, not even my kids. And I love my kids. Like I give my life for my kids, right? And through the twin flame journey, you start realizing how unconditional love works, how it tastes, how it feels, and how to actually do it. And then it starts spreading to other people around you that you love. People benefit from you learning the secret of unconditional love. So what you would never do or accept or allow with anyone else, you experience it with your twin. And then what I found to be true personally for me, and maybe you guys are coming through that understanding, or trust me, you'll get there, is suddenly it starts spreading to the people you love. Suddenly you start forgiving people and loving them in a way you never thought you could forgive and love them. And that is why the twin flame journey is so important to the collective ascension and a new consciousness of generosity and love and kindness. And there's no more competition in that. There's no more conditions placed on that. There's a purity that's evolving out of the twin flame journey. And so when you call it a cult, when all of us are walking alone, it's fucking funny. And the person who's, you sound ignorant. You don't even know what the fuck the word cult means. So why would you say a word you don't mean and you don't understand? We twin flames are massively independent. We are on a journey of self-sufficiency. We realize that we need to be enough unto ourselves. We are about community, of giving ourselves in service for nothing. You call that a cult? I think you better study cults, because Jim Jones was not about that. Neither was Osho. That's why I get triggered when I see Osho. Oh my God, Osho. Oh, Osho. I'm like, fuck Osho. Because he was a cult leader. No matter what people say. And that to me is a problem when you have to give away everything you own. No one's giving anyone anything. What it is something that's making a lot of people jealous. Okay? I come from the generation of Cosmopolitan, when they would have articles on how to have 9 big O's. You get what I'm saying by O, right? And I don't mean Oreo Cheerios. And I come from the generation where the average woman couldn't get any O, much less 9, okay? So when you are hearing the incredible nectar the delicious, sticky, beautiful substance of the amazing intimacy of a twin flame union in bed, in the woods, on a beach, you're going to get pissed off, especially if you've never had a big O, much less a little O, much less any O. And that is a reality. And I'm realizing that there are people who are actually jealous, incredibly jealous. And you have to remember that when they were creating the canons based on Yeshua, for example, and Mary Magdalene, and the apostles were jealous of her, we can see the fact that when people are jealous, they will do everything they can to tear it down, to tear it all down. So what you're experiencing in a twin flame journey, or with a high level soulmate, right, that puts you in a place that is, it can be incredibly emotionally, draining, where you go through massive levels of despair, depression, and then you get the nectar of your twin again. Even the nectar of their voice is massively healing. And your average muggle can't connect to that. And so the fact that you're so blessed to be in this kind of situation where you're walking a twin flame journey, in other words, it's opening all your chakras, it's opening your understanding of how amazing you are. Your capacity to love is infinite. There is no ceiling to the level of love that you can express and you can experience. There's none. It's infinite. And when you're talking to a muggle that thinks that the twin flame is a cult, you're dealing with someone who's never, 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 and will never know that kind of nectar. And so jealousy is going to be part of it. Othello is one of my favorite stories, and I'll tell you why. Because there's jealousy. Iago is jealous of Othello and Desdemona. Jealous. And he does everything he can to destroy their bond. And he's very successful. Because the monkey mind, this is why when you're in a twin flame journey, you can't really get too many people involved in your story. Because you got to understand, they can't, for one thing, unless they're going through it themselves, they can't understand what you're going through, number one. Number two, if they don't have a marriage you would love to have, you can bet that there might be some jealousy into what you express and share details. And I don't mean sexual details. I mean the bond, this incredible bond that you can share with a person who has not gone through this, who doesn't even understand, because their marriage is insipid. It's tepid. They're more like roommates with benefits. And it's sloppy. And it's not refined. And it's not transcendental. And it's not beautiful. Trust me, don't think jealousy is a problem in the twin flame journey. And so they'll throw everything, every name you can think. Codependency. I did a whole live on codependency, refuting it with ease. Because you and I both know what we've gone through. Codependent, dude, I wasn't even with that person for 2 or 3 years. Some of you have gone through separations that lasted decades. And you still managed to create and grow and evolve and ascend on your own. This is what is funny to me, all these name calling on the twin flame journey. Why are you so bothered by the twin flame journey? It's a cult, it's codependent, it's limerence, it's obsession, it's toxic. No, actually, you're toxic for saying all those things. You're toxic. Look in the mirror. What aren't you getting in your intimate relationship that makes you so jealous, so angry at a twin flame couple that is calling themselves a twin flame? Let's take the word twin flame out, since that irritates you. Let's remove it. Now we have a bond that is supernatural. Now we have two souls that have telepathy. Now we have the bonding of souls who, when they are together, increase the power of manifestation. And when these two souls are together, aligned, they are magnetic, charismatic, and they're healing in just their presence, since the word twin flame irritates you. But the end result, even when we remove the name, because who gives a fuck about a name? 3,000, 4,000 years ago, I didn't speak English. In fact, in my last incarnation, I didn't speak English. So names are names are names. It doesn't matter to me. But the truth of it is that the bond and this connection and the tantric aspect of it, all of that is not, and the tantric aspect of it, all of that is not, and the tantric aspect of it, all of that is not going to change because now I don't call it a twin flame. We call it a twin flame because we need a word, or else we'd be grunting and barking and snarling. So we're going to use a word, just kind of like how I use the word door or la porte to express the exit for you to go through. And that's all I have to say to you, my little friend, who apparently is so triggered, she has to go on people's, comment section and leave one word like it's a mic drop. It's not. Smarter people than you, way smarter than you, have insulted and who have had the power to brick by brick try to destroy the twin flame journey and the twin flame path and the transformation of twin flames and the incredible healing powers that twin flame have when they are in union. It becomes a catalyst for healing. And I'm sorry if that upsets you. There is no cult. No one's drinking Kool-Aid. No one's standing in line and asking for permission for jack shit. We're all independently lone wolves on the journey looking to bond with our wolf mate. We don't need you. We don't need to belong. We don't need anything. In fact, many of us will end up as lone wolves until we drop our bodies. So now what? My little Kool-Aid mixer. So at the end of the day, when you get attacked and you're trying to share your journey with other people, right? Be careful who you share them to, because even if they say nothing, again, watch the movie. If you can't read the, Shakespeare, Othello, watch the movie Othello with Kenneth Branagh and I forgot his name, but Kenneth Branagh. Okay, here's why: because then you're gonna see how people smile in your face and are very, very happy to help you walk out of relationship instead of helping you somehow find the solutions, and are really there to be a team player, to go rah. Listen, fights like that happen. Men do this and women do that, and let's find a solution so that you don't get trapped into the cycle of toxic masculinity and toxic femininity. Let's work on. That's the kind of friend you want. Someone who's objective. That's what I mean by go find yourself a Doc Holliday. You're their Doc Holliday. They're your Doc Holliday. That means they'll tell you the truth when you're fucking up, and they'll tell you, and they'll be supportive because they'll want you to be happy. They'll actually want. In fact, you being happy will make them happy. If you don't have that kind of friend, then it's time for you to reconsider your friendship pool, because you should have people like that in your corner. And if you know, and you should know, if you know for a fact that no one in your circle will understand your journey and make you feel like you're going nuts, then this is your sign from me to you that it's time for you to stop talking about it to those people. Talk to them about lipsticks, about suits, about football, about fast cars, about crypto, but don't talk about this to them. Not to them. Okay? And when you see these comments, let's say you're making a video about your twin flame journey and you see a comment like that, have compassion. because they'll never know your journey, and they'll never understand the nectar and the hell you went through to become who you are and who you are still becoming, due to the fact that a twin flame walked into your life to activate you to ask yourself all the right questions. And it may have rolled down the hill in the wrong way, but for the right reasons. And remember, you wouldn't be who you are today. And there's a part of you, or a massive part of you, that is so grateful because you know that because of it, because of this divine appointment, you are so grateful. You would have never come to this level of consciousness had you not been awakened. Kind of like Sleeping Beauty with the prince kissing her awake, right? Awakened to this level of consciousness. And now you're hell-bent on healing yourself. None of this could have happened without the triggering. It was a trigger. It was like a switch. It's like your twin just turned on the lights inside of you. And you got to see all of it. You got to see your darkness, the shadows you had hidden, ran from, refused to admit to, and you did the same to them. No wonder there's a runner-chaser aspect to these connections. It's both scary and marvelous at the same time. At least you'll see it at some point in that way. But when people accuse you of belonging to a cult, laugh in their face. Laugh. Because they have no clue. They have no clue. When they tell you anything that puts down what you're going through, laugh. It's funny. And you can be angry, righteously angry, but really laugh and realize that it's coming from someone who has never and will never know what you know. Never. Is there an arrogance to that? No, I would say there's a confidence. This is similar to somebody who, how would I put it nicely? This is like you being you're gaining your PhD in spirituality, and you're dealing with a person that's still grunting Neanderthal and still doesn't know that, God exists and there's other things besides 3D existence. The chasm between consciousness is massive. And they may know the words reincarnation and karma and self-realization. They may know the words, but there's one thing to know the words and live the words. And those are two different acts. Just like, I know the words on quantum physics, but I don't know exactly how to break it down on a chalkboard. Or, do you understand? I can't break it down. So I know the word, but I don't know how to actually activate it, how to live it, how to breathe it, how to make sense of it in a situation where I could write it down and break it down mathematically, or whoever. So you got people who actually know these words, right? But they don't know how to live those words. And they don't even know how to explain those words to you. In other words, what does it mean, reincarnation? What does it mean, telepathy? What does it mean that we are multi-dimensional light beings? What does it mean that we have other dimensions of realities? What does it mean? All of that in real action. Because see, once you know what those words mean in action, you live your life with as much integrity and dignity and generosity for yourself and others as you can possibly muster. And so you can know those words, but if you're a mean-spirited, petty tyrant, then you don't know what they mean. And you're living a small life trying to drag people down to your level of smallness. So when you come across people like that, it's not your job really to explain yourself that you're not crazy and that you're not delusional and that you're not obsessed. It's not your job. You can actually cut the conversation off and saying, let's move on. We're not going to go anywhere here. And just move on. And if they insist because they're petty tyrants, you got to just keep pushing, move on, or walk. I'll talk to you when you're ready to move on to another conversation. You're not here to convince them that you're correct and you're not crazy. That's not your job. it will actually strip you, because not everyone has the, how do I put this? The ability to articulate esoteric things. And I mean articulate. Some people are amazing writers, but they're not good at articulating shit that's esoteric. Some people articulate shit like this with ease and can't write it. Some people, their throat chakra is still stuck from past trauma, from other incarnations, and they can't articulate it either. Don't put yourself in a position where you stumble over your words and you try to convince someone you're not crazy. Move on. This is when you have to learn how to protect yourself, because there are some really, really nasty people who don't want to believe that you have had incredible nectar. Oh, you're so sweet. Any questions or comments? I'm glad you like this image. It makes me happy. Just to find peace and grounding. Energy like to point you to find yourself seeking more solitude. Yeah, because when you find more solitude, you find more answers. You find more answers in silence than you will in praying. Praying is talking to God, which I think is great. Don't get me wrong. And meditation and silence is listening, hearing. And the reason why I wanted to do this live is because whenever someone says something in one of my comment sections on my posts that's shitty, I usually want to address it not to them personally, because I'm really not interested in talking to them actually at that point. Usually I block people like that, but I decided I wanted her to see the response I gave her, but only because, and then at some point I'll block her, because I don't need assholes in my life. I've got plenty of assholes already. I don't need more than I can manage. So, you want to kind of lighten your load. And to be honest with you, I don't have that many. I'm being dramatic. My life is clean of petty tyrants for the most part. And I remember my twin telling me that if you didn't have a petty tyrant, go find one. You might want to look up Petty Tyrants by Carlos Castaneda. And it should be up on the internet, believe it or not. It's a good read too. And he had my son read it. And the reason why petty tyrants are interesting, though I avoid them like the plague, because I just, but I'll tell you why. There's some wisdom to that. Because they push your buttons. Because they kick you in the shins and demand your attention to advocate for yourself. Petty tyrants will actually make you, if you're healthy, healthy mindset, they'll make you choose yourself. They'll make you advocate for yourself. They'll force you in a position of going, yeah, I don't think so. You're crossing my boundaries. In other words, petty tyrants are going to force you to create boundaries for your own benefit. And that's one of the things about petty tyrants that I find are positive. But that's about it, I think for many of us, we need to just keep our eye on the prize. We need to get really focused as to where we want to be this year. This last year went really, really fast, and there was a lot of pain. There was a lot of loss. There was a lot of awakenings that were shocking. It was like having spiritual earthquakes, and a lot of decalcifications happen in many people's root chakra, which would have created a lot of tears and fears and not knowing where your footing would be. What move should I do over this move, or should I go left? Should I go right? There was a lot of driving down the road, hitting the brakes every 20 seconds, that kind of thing. Trying to understand what was true and what was true for you and things of that nature. So it was a pretty traumatic year, I think, for a lot of people. And so 2025, I would invite you to, if you come across a petty tyrant, know that it's for you to articulate your truth and your power. But don't spend too much time on it, because you're not here to convince a gnat that there's other realities. You're not here to convince, a worm that it's not the kingdom. It's not the king of its kingdom, right? That it's a worm. So for me, consciousness that are here to harm people emotionally is a betrayal that you should not accept. So really make sure that you speak your experience with the right people. So this is why me and Andromeda Flame, we have 2 groups on WhatsApp. And this is not to advertise because it's free. But the particular group that I have, that I run with Andromeda is Starseeds Awakening on WhatsApp. And the reason why we have that group, we decided not to do Discord. I could have brought it back up, and I was like, I don't really like that shit. This is much more intimate, and people share all kinds of ideas and thoughts, and we did it. When was it? I think it was like May or June of last year, and I can't tell you how much we've all learned from each other. So try to, if you don't have your own group, try to create one and start attracting other twin flames so you can have, and make sure they're twin flames. Make sure you've talked to them on the phone. Make sure that you're bringing in the right energy, because the wrong energy, in other words, I'll give you an example, and I'm going to try to be as diplomatic as possible. But there was somebody who I brought into our group, and they really had a lot of issues with men. And I'm talking about massive issues. And the last thing we want is men who are angry with females and females who are angry at males. It's not helpful. That's not what we want to promote. We don't want to promote bashing of the genders. We're totally against that. What we are trying to create in these groups is an understanding of why masculines do what they do, and vice versa, why feminines do what they do. And also to help navigate the twin flame journey, because there are some common ground that we can share, and that gives support to people who think they're growing crazy. I can't tell you how, as people are awakening to new understandings of realities, how so many of them think they're going crazy. And yet actually they're losing they'll say they're losing their mind. It's like, thank God they're losing their monkey mind and coming into real consciousness. Thank God. And in the beginning, it's so foreign to them, because you have to understand, in at least I keep bringing up 2,000 years, because for me, that's the number that is more aligned with how Orthodox teachings started coming in and making us afraid to speak our voice. I mean, on a serious level, on an intense level, to question certain things, to push the envelope. And every time we would do that at various ages of in Europe, and I'm sure other countries, some countries were left alone in that energy. But in mostly European countries, if you questioned anything, you were going to be put on the rack and tortured. So, when you drop your body with that kind of in that method, it's going to leave massive scarring, some scars that you carry into the next incarnation and block your throat chakra. This is why I keep telling people, chant a mantra. Just keep chanting all day long if you have to, and never allowing your monkey mind to dissuade you from speaking your truth and the truth, right? And sometimes the two are bound as one truth. Your truth is the truth, and sometimes it's just your perception, your experiences, and it's your truth. But I mean, really what's beautiful is many of us are sharing truths, and they're not subjective. They're objective to those who are going through a twin flame journey. And so this idea that because many of us are going through something that's beautiful, extraordinary, magical, healing, and a benefit to the collective who are asleep, who are clinging to 3D, you're gonna see people trying to destroy your confidence in this love that you carry for another soul bond that is supernatural. Shall we call it that now, since twin flames is such a nasty word to be? Should we call it soul bond, supernatural soul bond? Because there's no difference. It doesn't matter what you call it. Doesn't matter. It's like they're just showing me The image of a little girl being adopted, and her name when she was born was Natalie, right? And now it's Natasha, or it's Mary. Does it change the girl? No, she's still the same girl. It's a different name, but she's still whatever makes her this being. That's why it's kind of funny how people are so triggered by the word twin flame. And because they're triggered by the word twin flame, you must now know that you must wield a lot of power in your existence. And if it pisses people off and it triggers people to that level, well, it should tell you that you must be very powerful to scare people to that level. Not to mention, it must also give you the confidence to realize that your separation is for you to gain self-acceptance, being enough into yourself, and being rooted in knowing that you are responsible in the way you wield such power. And it also shows you that there aren't that many of us, are there? Not a lot. There are people who are delusional, who think it's a twin flame because the sex was good. That doesn't make you a twin flame. It shows me you have chemistry, you've had past lives with this person, and they happen to be a very good lover. And for someone who's never had good, relations with different lovers, then there's an old saying I love: when one has never seen the sun, the moon is indeed bright. Which I think you get, right? You understand what I'm saying? And so for someone who's never had, great moments of passion, then right away they think it's a twin flame when it's a soulmate at best. At best. Sometimes it's what you call karmic. And the reason why the sex is used in the chemistry on a spiritual level to bring you in is for you to pay attention to the relationship, to see if this is a karmic bond, to accept as its karmic bond, and to go, my God, okay, I need to let go of this. So there's a something that shackles you to this person to make you pay attention. It's an opportunity for you to let go of a loop that you've had with this person for hundreds of years. And the sexual desire or the sexual connection is what keeps you bonded until you realize, my God, this person's a narcissist, or this person's I gotta go. I don't care if this is good. I'm getting out of here. And then when you've learned the lesson and you've broken that toxic bond, then yeah, you might actually meet your twin, or you might actually meet a high level soulmate, or you might be on your way to twin ray, skipping all of these parts. That's what's interesting. Anyway, I hope this helps you in some clarity, and I will post this in a few. But anyway, any questions or comments before I go? Any questions or comments? Let me see if I missed anything else. And I don't see anything. It's like telling someone who was essayed, I understand if you've never experienced it. Exactly. I could never. Perfect. That's exactly it, Jennifer. It's like telling someone who's been essayed, I understand, blah, blah, blah. No, you can't. There's certain things you can empathically pick up on, maybe because you actually experienced such things in a past life. So it's like innate. You can actually draw on that wisdom and empathy. But, the average human being, and I mean average, okay? I'm not talking about you guys who are looking at spirituality, doing your best, and asking even more intense, hard questions about yourself, about the nature of reality, about the nature of why we pay to live, things of that nature, right? But the average human being is a welcome mat. When I hear stories of, well, he didn't meet like men, like certain men, not badass men, but certain men will actually marry because now it's time to marry, and I'm just gonna, she's nice, she's got good bones, we're like friends, we kick it. Time to marry. Will you marry me? Not marrying the woman that made him crazy, that he was crazy about. But having children with somebody who, it's safe. If she passed away, I wouldn't really be destroyed by it. But walked away from the woman that would destroy him and build him back again. This is why I did a post today. It's an old saying. It's a coward dies 1,000 deaths. A brave man only once. Yeah. Because, there's no way you can fail. Even when you make mistakes, you learn from it. If you're intelligent, you're going to learn from it. If you're not intelligent, you're going to be afraid of making mistakes because clearly you don't learn from your mistakes. But if you're intelligent and you are, then why would you be afraid of making a mistake? You're going to learn from it. It's kind of like a baby putting their hand on the stove and going, oh shit, I burned my hand. No shit, they're not going to do that again. Not the dog, not anyone. No one with a half a brain is going to repeat something that's self-harming unless there's got some problems. That's common sense, I would think. But, you never know. So I want to thank you all. If you have any questions on the twin flame, let me know. Right now, this is your time to ask me a question, not on your personal journey, but on the twin flame journey, if you don't mind. So do you have any questions on the twin flame journey? I've had a reading from you where you said this person was my twin. I don't know why I still have doubts. I don't know. I don't know why you have doubts, but it's okay because honestly, I had doubts too. My twin sent me a book and I talked about it yesterday on my live and I still have it, thank God. It's like a love letter. And he knew our soul bond before I did. And of course, I kept thinking that his true person was a woman I had met that he was with when I met. And we were not lovers. I was not cheating, just on the side note, just in case that's inferred by some word. But anyway, the point is, that's not what happened. But I remember feeling like they were the soul bond. That they, and again, the word twin was not in my dialogue, okay? It was soulmates, okay? High-level soulmates. And I thought, no, she's your soulmate. I'm just some chick you met. And he kept saying, no, you're my soulmate. You're the one. And so, but it took years and it took portals to open, portals of eras. So, like in the 80s, there was a certain level of fuckery and consciousness. Everyone wants to go back to the 80s. Why the fuck would you want to go back to the 80s? I'm asking for real. Because people were so, you think you're asleep now? People were so fucking asleep, it was stupid. So in the 80s, those portals of seeing certain synchronicities, for some reason, was not, different things were happening, don't get me wrong, obviously, but not what I started noticing. And I'll explain what I mean. My twin's the one who started noticing numbers. He was noticing numbers way back in probably the late 90s, early 2000. And he taught me about the magic of the number 9. And he would bring up numbers he'd see all the time. And then I started seeing, there was like an activation. Did you notice that? I'm like, wait, hang on. Yeah, I did. And suddenly I started seeing 1111. Okay, that would have been like, and I started seeing my birthday. And then suddenly shit that had been in my face, I started seeing. And then when that happens, you go, where the fuck was my head? Like, how could I not see that shit? And I'll give you an example. He was born in a town with the 518 area code. I was born 518. Now, this reality had been part of my reality and his since we met, which was damn near now, I'm going to say 40 years ago, okay? More than that, actually. But how could we not have seen it until we saw it? So when you say I have doubts, hopefully that should give you some understanding of how doubts work. But if you lean into surrendering to the information rather than, holding on to the doubts or holding on to even saying, oh yeah, it's my twin. I would prefer you were in a neutral position. Not leaning into, oh, it's my twin or against my twin. More leaning into, I need more information. Like, I'm open to all information. Let me just surrender and see what is revealed to me. That to me would be the healthiest place to come to that understanding of seeing what is being shown to you. And I could tell you more stories about the synchronicity of the numbers, but I've done many lives on that, like in detail. And I'm not going to bore people who follow me on the same shit again, but it's in there. It's in my lives. I see my birthday all the time. That's cool. But you also need to look at not just the birthday, but you have to look at what it means. So, right? So 6, 1, and 7, you need to add it. I started saying, I accept whenever I see numbers or hearing or seeing his name, I stop fighting. Good, because that's where you need to go. Stop fighting. I see his birthday every single day. Yeah, it's because that's because my number is 711. That's very good. That's an excellent number. I'm starting to think my twin is a karmic, also so hard. Well, okay. Can you guys stop using the word karmic, please? I use it here and there to cater you guys, but let's start using the right words for the right things. All right? Lean in. Please listen. The reason why we're all here is we were brought here, well, we volunteered, but we had to take on karma to come here, number one, okay? But also we have karma to clear out, okay? Because there's no self-love in most of us, okay? So that creates a trap, a loop that's based on heavy karma. All of us have had some shit happen to us during the beginnings of this incarnation or past incarnations that create a frequency match to create the parenting that we then experience in this incarnation. For example, all of us are karmics. Let's just get that straight. Please stop using the word karmic. I use it to cater, but now I'm realizing I gotta stop. I'm not gonna cater to that, and I'll tell you why. Because you have soul contracts with every single human being on the planet that you have more than 2-minute conversation with. Some kind of contract, some type of teaching moment, something. And all of it is karmically charged, good or bad. And this word karmic, like a punishment, like it's a karmic, you're married to a karmic. No, you're married to someone who you had a soul contract that you needed to finish, hopefully successfully, so you don't loop again, having to owe them your time again in the next incarnation. Do you understand what I'm saying? So all of this shit, all of these experiences, all of our incarnations in 3D is charged with karmic debts. All of it. So that's why I think I'm going to stop using it, because I've been like catering for the last 3 or 4 lives, and I'm realizing it's actually not helping you at all. It's actually making you feel like, my twin is a karmic. No shit, of course he's a karmic. I'm a karmic. I was a karmic to my twin. You're a karmic to your twin. Does that make sense? No shit. So that's what you need to accept. I subconsciously named my first son after him. That is crazy. Why are some of us seeing these numbers and others are not? Because some of us are awakened. In fact, one of the ascension markers is to see the numbers. There are people who believe in reincarnation. They believe in tarot readers. I know people who actually believe in fucking tarot readers and don't believe in reincarnation, don't believe in spirituality. I shit you not, okay? So when you see numbers, it means that you're awakening. On a level, you're awakening from, it's kind of like a little baby that learns speech. And the baby goes from learning speech to learning how to read and write its own name. That's what's happening here when you see numbers. So 1111 seems to be the tipping point of that portal opening in your subconscious doors, and your ascension is starting to happen. And then you'll start seeing numbers all over the place. You'll become not obsessed, but I'm not obsessed by it. But I've been playing with numbers since I was in my mid-30s, so it's not a new thing for me. But in terms of seeing numbers like that and gaining meaning is mind blowing to me. So yeah, so there's certain numbers that many of you will see. You're all like, when people will go, oh, it must be my twin, it's 1111. No, it's a basic number. Sure, it's connected to the twin. To be honest with you, I don't even know how it started. The Four of Wands in the tarot deck, the Four of Wands, it's 4 wands. It's like it's 4 temple beams, if you will. So it looks like 1111. It looks like the Roman numeral, for example. And it got connected with the twin flame journey. Got it. But some people are not in a twin flame journey, honestly, and they start seeing 1111. So now what? What does that mean? Do you get where I'm coming from? So 1111, you'll see, I'm seeing a lot, for example, 1010, I see 144, like it's ridiculous how often I see 144. 414, 441. See a lot of nines. I see, so in different ways I see nines. And the different nines are not like 414 or 144. There's a different meaning behind all that. I see my birthday a lot. I see his birthday a lot. It's insane. I talked about how it was on one of my credit card's expiration that, his social security was my life path number. You can't make this shit up. So it goes on and on and on, and you'll start seeing. And so that's one of the connections. I also, to be honest, I see my son's birthday a lot. So we definitely have a strong soul contract, and the soul contract is a lot of mentoring and this and that's going on, and that's how we're proceeding with this relationship, because I can't be his. I don't want to be his mommy. I want to be his mentor, and he agrees with that because it makes more sense and it's much more respectful for both him and me. But in terms of numbers, yeah. So I see his number. So I'm not sure if you guys are seeing somebody who's in your immediate circle, if you see their numbers. But if you see their numbers, then it also means that there is a strong bond here. There's something significant to pay attention to, for example. Let me see what else you guys are saying, because I'm curious about what you're thinking about that. So does that answer your question about some of us are seeing these numbers and others are not? And the ones that are not are completely 3D. I've been seeing my own name a lot lately. Lol, he's supposed to see my name, not me. I see my twin's number all the time. I also see my son's birthday all the time. Yeah, yes, thank you. Okay, good. Yeah, so it's not a cult to see those numbers. Haha. It's actually a marker that you are ascending. So you might not be in a twin flame journey. It doesn't mean you're it doesn't mean shit. It means you're waking up. That's what it means. And the numbers have meanings. So depending on what the numbers you're seeing, when you add them, it's telling you something to do. Like, I'll give you an example, and please don't throw numbers. I'm not doing numerology. I'll give you an example. Like, for example, my life path number is 23, right? When I take out the 9 in the year I was born, it comes out to 23. If I leave the 9, it's 32. Either way, it's fucking 5. And what is 5? Well, 5 is Mercury and magnetic communication with the public, right? Now, if you add, somebody had 717, right? I think it was that. So, yeah, I think it was 717. 717, that's 15, right? And 15 is the magician. There's also some toxicity in the shadows when you look at it through the tarot number 15, the devil, Capricorn energy. But then you transmute it to 6. 6 in tarot is the lovers, a choice. In numerology, it is connected to Venus, 6th dimension, co-creation from love, things of that nature. So when I do like a foundational twin flame reading, I do the numerology and the tarot to do the reading, to actually find out, is this a twin or what's going on or what have you. I see my own name a lot. It's not really that common. It's becoming more common now, Jasmine. Yes, I could see that. Well, as I said in one of my lives, I said I saw my twin's name 3 times, and his name is so unusual. It's Sanskrit. At the time I was living in California, Northern California, and I saw his name in the middle of fucking nowhere, up in the mountains of Northern California. There was his name. I'm not going to say it. It was, and then Way. W-A-Y, but there was his name, and I was like, get the fuck out of here. I took a photo and sent it to him. I'm like, I can't believe this shit. This is insane. And we laughed because it was so random. It made no sense, okay? But yet there we were. Okay, so it's I don't know. There's a part of me that's really questioning reality. Well, there's not a part of me. There's a part of me trying to that's a better way to put it. There's a massive part of me trying to digest the nature of reality and how our thought forms create situations, being a holographic universe, that would bring the most obscure name on a street sign, for example, out of fucking nowhere. Right? Like, I'm wondering if, because if this is true, the Akashic halls are constantly a moving sea of thought form, which is why we can manifest what we want, by the way, which is why people manifest what they don't want, because they're such in a state of fear. And fear is an emotion, obviously. And it's a powerful emotion, obviously. But it's not the emotion you want to feel when you're manifesting. But if the Akashic halls is a moving sea of thought forms, right? Feelings, thoughts, words, actions, then isn't it possible that in our consciousness, not only do we have messages from the light beings, but we also co-create something to recreate a reality that somebody else might not see? Does that make sense? Hence why they don't see. Then also you can say, well, some of us are so empathic that we can see dead people. I'm using that as a simple way to describe, and no one else can see it but you. Going back to Whoopi Goldberg and in the movie Ghost, she had a fucking crowd of people. So I'm just wondering and trying to digest complex ideas of reality while trying to hack out of my 3D brain that's been brainwashed for centuries of incarnating in this avatar again and again and again. And at the time, religions were very good at keeping me from asking questions, because to ask questions anyway could get you harmed badly by the church, so, and the powers that be. But now that we're free and we live in a part of the world, let's be honest, not everyone is having this incredible gift to actually have the freedom to think and to process these very esoteric concepts. We're blessed, okay? There's some places where you can't even, like I mentioned a while back, Afghanistan, women aren't even they're not even allowed to talk to each other anymore, okay? I don't know if you heard about that, but that's pretty fucking terrifying. But here we are able to discuss reality and then define what that means. And at some point, I know we'll come to a solution where we will have a collective understanding. And once we have a collective understanding of what the infinite possibility of reality is, right, we'll be able to catapult many people who are dogmatic in their position of what reality is, and we'll be able to come to a new age. You could say we're actually walking towards a golden age as we speak, you know what I mean? So there's a lot to think about. And there's a lot to, hang on, I'm trying to put the heat on, I'm freezing my ass off. But does that make sense? So the numbers for you is a massive sign that you are a volunteer. You are going to be a wayfarer in the awakening. And the more you see the numbers, the more you'll see numbers. That's all I gotta say. That's really intense. Anyway, let me see. I saw my twin flames etched on the bathroom stall door with just his name. Yeah, exactly. There you go. It's a lot. I mean, when you think about how triggered people are about the twin flame journey, while you're having the numbers that are hitting you left and right, while you're being told not to believe in what you're seeing, while the numbers are insisting you to believe in what you're seeing, while you're having telepathic communication or oracle dreaming about your twin, about yourself, I don't know. You at some point you're gonna have to make a decision. You gotta ask yourself: do I believe in what I'm being told to believe? Do I do another fucking year of this shit, or do I become independent of thought? And I think what I want to think, and then I try to make sure that what I'm thinking and what's streaming through my crown chakra is not corrupted It's pure downloads. It's really real. I'm not, like going into other realms, but you really don't want to ask people who are, I call them muggles, obviously, for obvious reasons. You don't want to ask muggles for their opinions, because it's like asking, how do I make it non-politically correct? Well, politically correct. It's like asking someone who's never, I'm so sick. It's like asking a blind man, what color is the sky? Okay? Let me put it that way. Fuck it. It's you're not. It's like asking a narcissist, a billionaire like Dan Pena, for example, his opinion on being merciful to people who are homeless. It's like asking a person like Elon Musk, or if he's a popular guy not to like for some reason, but whatever. But it's not why I'm bringing that up, because it's a famous billionaire that you know about. But it's asking a billionaire, like, why can't you write a check for $10 billion and change the fucking face of the world? Like, literally. And I don't mean by putting rockets in the sky, but actually, like, eradicating homelessness, making a pact. Look, I make this amount every year. I'm going to commit $10 billion a year to eradicating homelessness in America. And then after that, I'm going to go and commit to doing that in Australia, wherever it needs to be done. It's like asking questions like that. They're obvious questions with zero answers. So you don't want to put yourself in the hands of someone who has a lot of issues, and I'm going to be honest with you. When I was a kid, when I was in my 20s and 30s and so forth, the average woman I met in my age group, and to get to they're boomers, obviously, had never been in loving relationships where they were absolutely fulfilled. The average woman I met was not fulfilled by her intimate relationships with the man she was with. It was almost like, well, it's better to be alone, and I mean, at least he provides, or at least she's whatever. It's bizarre. And today you've got people who are the same age group, right, today, meaning they're in their 20s and 30s, and they are asking all the right questions about what makes a good relationship. And no one is settling, to the point where we have a lot of young people, good looking, fit, powerful people of both genders, choosing to be celibate, alone, before, to figure out what they need to heal before they're willing to go back out there to see if their new frequency, their new healing frequency, can attract a same frequency, a higher frequency of consciousness, which would hopefully bring them to a high-level soulmate or twin flame or twin ray. And I love that for our world, for this planet, because now we're going to have the more loving couples we have on this planet, the better the planet will be. That's why twin flames are so important, to come into union, to graduate out of flame into ray. You know what I mean? So you would think everyone would want this, but no, clearly they don't. And it's because some people are just holding on to their status quo. So when you see numbers, going back to that point, and you see numbers that are, and numerology, right? You know what they mean. You don't just go on Google and Google it, because most of the Google downloads of what those numbers mean are usually written differently, but it means the same. 1111 means this, and 1212 means that. The one I think we can all agree on is 555 means change. Okay? And it does. And when it comes up on your cycle, like when you see 555, get ready. Shit's about to change for your life. It's definitely going to happen. And you'll have choices to make. But I think that ultimately when people are going to denigrate what you're going through, and they are your petty tyrants. They are there for you to be tested to your tenacity, to what you know is good for your soul, good for you. And so you're not here to cater to people's fears or their status quo or society's norms, the norm, what's considered okay and acceptable and appropriate. You're not here for that. You're here to grow and expand yourself and realize that you are an infinite consciousness. Infinite. There is no ceiling. There is no limit. None. There are people going into surgery who need no anesthesia at all, just from their own focused ability to disengage from pain, or actually to create a system in their bodies that shuts pain off. That's incredible. And this has been proven. This is not woohoo shit. It's on camera, for bloody sake. So we are infinite in our ability to absorb knowledge, control our bodies. The only thing that's keeping us to this level of mediocrity, honestly, which we're coming out of, is our own, like I said, the brainwashing of the monkey, mind. And the sad part is that most people have had parents who were either, I'm going to just say, criminals, or played the game and played by the rules, and both of them were fucked. They were fucked up, and some of you have been very lucky. I know of one person I know that's close to me that has had incredible parents, incredible siblings, an incredible beginning. And but those, in my decades of living on this planet, she's one in a million. I'm not joking. She's one in a million. Maybe you're one of those millions too. Hopefully you are. But so when you come out of this brainwashing, my friend, it feels lonely. That's why you have to have a community and groups and things of that nature to support you, especially when you're at your most fragile. Because as you come, it's like, imagine you're birthing a new version of yourself. So it's no different than a little baby. You don't slam that kid around. The neck's going to break. You're very careful. You're very gentle. And that's what happens when you come to a new self-realization, a new awakening, a new birthing of yourself. You have to be you're fragile. You need to be held a certain way. You need to be, you know what I mean? You can't deal with bullshit, with that kind of violence. You're not a tough little 14-year-old, not yet. You're just coming into your new, no different than a babe that's just been born. And so you have to know that and put into place the right people, or to be okay with being alone for a while until you toughen up. So it is common for DM to be totally in recognizing this different level of connection and then deny. The denial is... The denial has multiple levels. The denial can be based on self-loathing, that why would they be so fortunate as to have this kind of love. It's also it's cynicism. The cynicism would be, nothing this perfect can last. It's too good to be true, that kind of thing. The other thing is hell-bent on holding on to 3D. Just status quo shit, just marrying the girl that's not going to harm him. She dies, he'll get over it. In about 10 months, he'll date again. And I've seen marriages where the guy's and I mentioned that yesterday, where the guy's been married 20 years and you hear them dating after 10 months. And I've heard women do that too. And I talked about my mom, who, my father died. She was in her PJs for 2 years. She couldn't function for 2 years. She was absolutely destroyed. So the status quo for the average human being, male or female, is marry what's safe. If anything happens, it won't really harm me, because I really don't give a fuck. Sure, I love him. Do you love him? Sure, I love him. Would you do whatever you need to do to save them? Nah, I'd think about it. There are people who are parents who have the same response for their adult kids or kids. They wouldn't go to the ends of the world to make sure their kid is safe. They're not really that vested. They're they have a very lukewarm life path, So you've got people who are massively asleep, who want to stay there because it's comfortable. Because, God forbid, I should have to now rethink my idea of reality and love and commitment and spirituality, the nature of God, all of that. I mean, that whole thing. I mean, if you're in 3D and you believe in going to the Sunday church or Sunday temple or whatever, and suddenly you're questioning everything, and the more you question, the more you see, and the more you see, the more you're going to go through a depression, because you're going to realize that everything you thought was true was a lie, and it's going to hit you hard. And so there are multiple levels of the dark night of the soul that I don't think people understand. It isn't just twin flame shit. It can be the awakening throws you into a dark night of the soul. Does that make sense? And that's tragic. That's tragic. Great. My chickens are out. Anyway, any questions or comments? I got to get my chickens back in the coop. They've decided to go rogue. And we have bald eagles, and if they survive until sunset, I doubt it. Well, it'll be their ego death. But yeah, it's ego death, but there's multiple levels to ego death. It isn't, I wish it was that quick. I wish it was just a one-shot deal where you got inoculated and ego death happened. If that was true, we'd have an amazing planet. Because people have taken all kinds of shit for ego death. They've taken it, they've gone through meditations, this and that and the other. And they're still, messed up. So there are multiple levels of ego death that has to occur. And but as long as we're aware that we're always healing, the final stripping of that ego that we embody in this avatar, we embody, what will happen is as we die, right, when we drop our bodies, that final bond, if you will slip away, and depending on where you are in your consciousness, the light beings will come and help you clean the last of that. It could take months, it could take weeks, it could take seconds, and you're freed from that. And what I know is everything you earn in this incarnation, you take with you to the next one. So if you can really get deep about your healing, and really urgent about your healing, whatever you're gaining in this incarnation, you will never forget. In other words, if you are no longer in the amnesia mode, right, which the average person, muggle, is, right, let's be honest, they're completely in amnesia, right? You're not, right? And the less you know, the more you know, the less you know, the more you know that already, right? There's an understanding of all these things. When you drop your body, I assure you, you're not actually going to come back into any incarnation ignorant. As a matter of fact, hopefully you'll be on such a high frequency that amnesia is no longer part of it. You'll tap, kind of like a good psychic. A good psychic doesn't go, especially a psychic that can read minds and telepathy, right? I knew a girl that had to take medications because she could read people's thoughts, and it was making her crazy. And it was making her, it was harming her. So she took some stuff to lobotomize that ability, okay? But there are other psychics that can do it at will. It's a light on, light off, And so when you're in 560 dimensions, right, you will have the ability to read thoughts, but you'll have the politeness not to go in uninvited. Does that make sense? In other words, you'll know in certain situations to turn it off at will. And so it won't harm you. It won't scar you. But, a lot of us still, we pick up on energy. Like, for example, and I do it sometimes. I turn it on. I allow it to be turned on because I just want to. And I want to know that what I'm feeling is correct. So sometimes, I'll be with a friend of mine or my son or a friend of mine, and I'll go, I just picked up blah, blah, blah on the energy on this person. Oh, yeah, I was feel, and we confirm with each other, yeah, holy shit, you too? Yeah, me too. So those are kind of good little exercises to hone your skills, but it's also good to learn how to switch it off. So in 5-6D, when you go into that frequency, you will have the ability to tap into whatever you want, however you want, and you'll also know how to switch it off, and that'll be good for you. That'll be good. And so if you could practice that now, that would be good. that would be awesome, wouldn't it? So work on that. Try to get on that, and do the best you can. And if you have children, do it with your kids, because it's fantastic. What a great gift you're giving your kids. in tapping into and reading people and going, Mom, I'm not feeling right about it. Yeah, and I wasn't feeling, tell me what you were feeling. And you're like comparing notes. It's amazing to be able to do that with your kid or grandchildren or wherever you're at, or your sister, siblings, whatever, brothers. It's a great exercise. And what it does is it empower you. It's like a muscle that you can't see, obviously, but you're growing it as you do this. And you're getting used to actually you're practicing so that when you get into 5D, you won't be so fragile when you first step in, because it'll be your first, in other words, just remember, you fell right into 3D. So when you get back into 5D, which is where you belong, in the beginning, it might feel a little uncomfortable, right? Unfamiliar. But if you start practicing these concepts now, when you do go into your next incarnation in 5D, consciousness, you would have already practiced this power in 3D, and you'll have no issues. You'll be like, yeah, I remember how to do that. In fact, I'm very good at doing that. I've done it for a while. And it'll become your second power. Okay? All right, my loves. Thank you very much for being here. I'll upload this. Hopefully this was an okay live. I know I went all over the place, but okay. This is how we roll. All right, sending you much love on your journey. Namaste. Be well.